Right. So we can get started.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe everyone. Yeah. Please Nitinji, Radhe Radhe, go ahead.
Yes, Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome again to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. I'm going to share my screen and we will get underway. Okay, are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, Nitinji.
Okay. Let's get started. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsacham Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Krishna Guru. Okay. Good morning, good evening once again to all of you.
Can you hear me?
So we are talking about the topic of God. Is this? Yes, I can.
Yeah, there is some network problem from your end.
Let me change something then. Okay, let me try to switch to a network and then see what happens.
Yeah, sure.
Give me a sec, I'll leave and come back.
Okay, sure. In the meanwhile, Radhe Radhe everyone. Once again, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Today, yeah, anyone wants to introduce themselves, they can do that. Yeah. We will soon have Nitinji back. He had some network issue. He's just rejoining. And you're all encouraged to turn on your videos. That helps increasing the interactions, engaging interactions in the class. Thank you, Annapurna ji. Thank you, Monica ji. Thank you, Sam ji. Awesome. Vandana ji. Radhe Radhe. Yes, Nitinji should be joining. Arunji also. Thank you, everybody, for turning on your videos. We are just waiting for Nitinji to rejoin. In the meanwhile, I guess I can quickly announce this. For all those who are in India, I don't know if you know, but Swami Mukundanandji comes every day in the morning on Doordarshan live, which is an amazing thing. Every day morning, 6:30 a.m. It's a half an hour satsang, which you can just tune into, and it's a regular thing that you can become a part of. So do check it out.
Which channel? Doordarshan National or Doordarshan?
DD National. DD National, Aartiji.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. We have the Nitinji back? Not yet. Yeah, so okay, he's back. Nitinji. Yeah,
Are you able to hear me? Is it
Yes,
any better?
Nitin. Yes,
Is it
sounds good.
okay?
Can
I
you
hope
start
it.
sharing your screen and then we'll see?
You have to make me a co-host so that I can share my screen.
Sure. Yeah, you're a co-host now.
Okay. Let me retry and then you tell me if it works or you're still seeing some challenge. Is it okay?
So far, so good. Yeah, Nitin ji.
Okay. Fingers crossed. Again, it's having a problem. Is there a problem?
No, I guess it's fine now. Yeah.
Okay. There was a delayed response, so that made me nervous. Okay, so we have been talking about the different manifestations of God, and today we will bring together the differences, although we are worshipping the same Almighty, regardless of whether we are worshipping the formless, the Paramatma aspect, or Bhagwan aspect. They are same, and yet there is a bit of a difference. And those are the differences that we are going to talk about. It's okay, right? Audio? Okay, cool. So let's get started. The shloka that I have picked up today is 9.31 to conclude this discussion, which I'm going to recite, and then you're welcome to follow along. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pranashyati. Okay, who are the volunteers we have?
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Shyamji.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेये प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति. राधे राधे.
Nice, thank you, Shyamji. We'll pick up a few more hands.
Okay, Manish ji, just to tell everybody, we first take the ones who have their video on, so you're all encouraged to turn on your videos. Manish ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma sasvashantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Very nice.
Vandana ji, Radhe Radhe.
Okay. Vandana ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति. Thank you.
Very nice, Vandana ji. I think, did you cite it for the first time today?
What was that?
Oh, did you recite for the first time today, Vandana ji?
No, I did before also.
Oh, you have done it? Okay. I keep confusing between two Vandana ji. Okay, very
Oh,
nice.
I'm from your neighborhood, so like, you know,
Yes.
we are the neighbors.
Got it. Yes. All right, let's take a few more hands and then we get started. If your video is on, then let's take maybe. Let's take.
Radhe Radhe. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachanti nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati.
Very nice, Rahul. Radhe Radhe.
Ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe.
Shikram bhavati dharmatma Sashvatanti nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati.
This is break. Okay, let's take a couple of more hands.
Radhe Radhe, Samji.
Radhe Radhe. Chiktam bhakti dharmatma shashvat shantim nigachyati kante apati janihi name bhakta pranashyati. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, very nice, Samji.
Arunji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Is the network okay actually for everyone? Are you able to hear me properly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, okay, fine. All right. Shipram bhavati
Yes, we are
dharmatma.
able to.
Okay. Yeah. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati.
Ji, Radhe Radhe. Please.
Very nice, thank you.
राधे राधे क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शाश्वतशान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानी न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति.
Wonderful, very nice. Let's take last two hands.
Radhe Ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe ji.
Yes, thank you. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. Thank you.
Ji, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati.
Okay, last two hands. And then
Nitin ji, your network is not supporting well.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्त प्रणश्यति. Thank you. Radhe Radhe everyone.
I'll just go next. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati. Okay. I don't remember the shloka, so sorry about that. Good to see you, Pramod ji, after so long. I don't know. I think I'm seeing you after quite some time, right? Yeah. I guess Nitin ji is still figuring out his network, so we'll wait. Okay, he's joined back. I'll just.
okay, I'm going to change my place to see if the signal is coming any better. Technically, I'm challenged today, so I'm just trying to work around it.
Ji, you raised hand again or something?
I don't know why it's not supporting, but let me try from a different network.
Sure.
Well, these are all the perks of staying in India. You really have to work hard for your network. Just move your phone around the antennas, check where you are.
It's your phone or Wi-Fi, Nitin ji?
Yes, I am on a Wi-Fi, but it's too late for me to figure out what else to do, but let's get started, okay? Is it better now?
Yes, Nitin ji. It sounds much better now.
Okay, fingers crossed, okay, before it starts becoming made and everybody start coming. So let's see how it goes. So, okay, let's go get started with our topic today. It's a pretty interesting topic that we are going to talk about. So hopefully in this room, the signal is going to cooperate. Is it better now, right? Okay. I've come to the hotspot, but then it's a hotspot with regards to activity as well, okay? So I'm hopeful it continues to support. We'll see how that goes. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, quickly they become virtuous and attain lasting peace. And okay, who are they talking about? Lord Krishna is talking about his devotees. Like in very next sentence, he's saying that, O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that no devotee of mine is ever lost. Okay, so let's move on. So you see this discussion, the reason I picked up this shloka is to drive forward the discussion where
No problem again.
the end of
Nitinji, how about not
the
sharing?
worshiping the same God, whether the Bhagavad. So how differences the way you and the results you aspects of this would. Let's get started. Good. I'm not seeing my.
Nitinji, maybe you can stop sharing the slides if that makes it better. Sorry about it. There's some technical issue. I guess some network problem. I guess Nitinji is figuring it out.
I think in the meantime, we can make some announcements. There is one announcement about the Swami Mukundandan Hindi YouTube channel. So we have one of the lecture series from Taitri Upanishad, which is coming up from 7:30 to 8 p.m. And it starts, I think, 22nd May, 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. India time. So I think that can be also watched live from Swami Mukundananji's Hindi YouTube channel. I will just put the link here, just to make sure everybody knows about that.
So many pearls for people in India. Morning satsang as well as evening satsang. Start your day and end your day amazingly. Okay, Nitinji. We left. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Give me a sec. I'm trying to find a cable. If internet cable direct hook, I can make. Okay. Otherwise, I'm extremely sorry. I didn't anticipate. Yesterday it worked fine. Today, I don't know what's going on. I'll try to.
But this way, Nitinji, you can be heard clearly if we want to proceed without slides or probably without video.
Yeah. So without video, if you can do, what I can do is let me share slides with you over the email, and then you can play for me. Is that okay?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Is the audio coming okay without the slides?
That's perfectly fine for now. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do it that way. I'm going to share it with you over the email right away, and then you start playing it, and let's try it out. Maybe without video, if it works. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Give me. Sorry about that. Completely unplanned, and one of those things, right? Which worked yesterday. Yeah, not under my control today. So let me try it today.
Do you want to make any more announcements in the meanwhile?
Other announcements is about this, that Memorial Day, that long weekend, which is coming up this weekend. So Swamiji will be having the West Coast retreat in Fresno, and now the online registrations are also open there. So in case, I think all of us should try to join that online also. There is a very minimal fees, I think around 500 rupees for that. So it would be a great opportunity for us to, from the comfort of our home, to join the retreat from that West Coast. And apart from that, I think the online registration for the family camp is also now open. So we will be posting all those in the chat. But that is also an important thing which can be done online if you are not able to attend that in person in Dallas. And in between the West Coast retreat and the family camp, we will be having our yoga fest also. So that is also an important event. We will be putting some more content on that, but that is also an important thing, which can be some of the sessions will be there in person, online also. So please look forward to attend those also. I think, yeah, that is what we have from the announcement section.
Awesome, awesome. And I would
Okay.
again, I received your email. I'll just start sharing it in a minute. Nitinji here. Okay, now.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I've tried to switch to hotspot. If it doesn't cooperate, let me know. But let's get started. I've sent you the presentation as well in case, something
Yes.
happens now. So fingers crossed, I'm going to give it another third time lucky, hopefully. All right. It's not ideal, but yeah, we'll try to make it. So let's get started. This is what we're going to talk about today. God is promising to take responsibility of the following. Which one? Okay. Is it Gyanis or Karmis or Bhaktas? Okay. This is what we're going to talk about. Okay. Audio is okay. Give me some nod of head or something so that at any point you see
Amazing,
something.
amazing, Nitinji. So
Okay,
far,
wonderful.
great. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. So let's get started on this topic. Now, what is God saying in this shloka? In this shloka, there's a typo as well, okay? By the way, I like this one. I came across this from Guru Nanak Dev Ji, where he's saying God is one, but he has innumerable forms. Okay, he's the creator of all and he himself takes on the human form. Okay, that is coming directly from Guru Nanak Dev. So I thought I'll put it up here as well, because we've been talking about this concept for a while now. So what he's saying Gyanis, the person of knowledge, will not be lost. Is he saying that in this shloka? Anybody who has looked at the shloka carefully, what God is saying in this particular shloka? Anybody here who can say what is he saying? Okay, I'll proceed then. The answer is no. Okay, he's not saying that. Is he saying the karmi, the performing of rituals that we do, which we consider as worship, he shall not perish? He's not saying that either. Is he saying that he makes his promise for his bhaktas, saying that they shall never come to ruin? The answer is an overwhelming yes. Okay, so he's saying that for devotees specifically. Now, devotee is a much deeper term. Okay, it's not the regular puja part that we do. Okay, people think that you are a devotee if you do a regular puja part, where it's a mechanical ritual that you are doing while having world in our mind. That is not actually a devotee. Devotee is the one basically who is serving God, and he's bhakti itself means who is united with God at that moment, right? Who serves God and is building an association with the personal form of God and does service. So that is a very deep definition of devotee. But let's for now understand that in this particular case, God is saying his bhakta, he takes responsibility. Okay, he doesn't take responsibility for a jnani or a karmi, basically a karmi who's simply working without acknowledging or understanding that, end of the day, you have to do it with a consciousness to please God. Now, is God egoistic because of that? No, he's simply saying this is his rule. Okay, when you become ashrit on him, it's like a mother. She will not intervene if the kid is saying, I'm good enough. Okay, or my own strength is good enough, and you take a back seat. So she's not going to poke her nose. And God is like that only. He said, only when you take refuge and take help from me, then I will intervene. And devotion is all about becoming ashrit on God, as opposed to thinking we are a big deal or we can do it on our own. Okay, so he's saying that for his bhaktas. Other interesting thing is he's saying, declare it boldly that they should never come to ruin. Why is he asking him to declare it boldly? The reason is, when God says something under exceptional circumstances, he can break his promise. Okay? Like he did. He had taken a vow not to lift a weapon during Mahabharata. But when it came to Bhishma Pitama, he did that. So for the sake of a devotee, he is willing to break his own promise, not for his own sake. Bhishma Pitama had taken a vow that either I'm going to make Krishna lift weapon today or I'm going to slay Arjun. So Krishna said, be my guest. I'm going to show you the form that you have been meditating upon in the battlefield. Okay, it said that Bhishma Pitama used to meditate on Krishna's form. It's like the hooves of the cow, all the dust that would fall on his feet, and his face will become red and dust claden. And when he's coming back, that thing was replicated in the battlefield when Krishna was all red with anger, and the dust from the battlefield was falling on his face. So Krishna said, okay, this is an opportunity. I'm going to give you my vision of what you have been meditating upon. So he broke his promise. But when he's saying you declare it, that means God can break his word in these kind of situations. But when it comes to his devotee, he will not break that. That much importance he gives to a devotee. And that is why he's saying to Arjun, declare it boldly, because once I make you speak it, I will not break it. Okay. That is the importance of becoming a devotee of God or the bhakti path. Okay, so this is what basically the shloka is talking about. And then he reiterates what he had stated in previous verse as well, basically 9.22. He personally carries the burden of maintaining those who depend upon him and engage in exclusive devotion unto him. He takes the responsibility for that. He said, okay, I will take care of you like a kitten. We spoke about this Markat Kishore Nyay, Marjar Kishore Nyay yesterday. It's like a kitten. I will carry you and take the onus of carrying you from point A to point B, which is beyond Maya, and not like a monkey baby, where the onus is on the baby to hold on to the mother, because if the grip loosens, the baby will fall. And that is the flip side of the other paths, because you are relying on Swabal. Swabal means your own intellect. You are relying on your own self to proceed on that path, and you are not asking God for grace at all, because there's no concept of grace in any other paths, right? It's like God is Nirgun, Nirvishesh, Nirakar, God, and it's like you tied the hands of God, and then God does grace us, but his special grace is reserved for devotees only. Okay, this is essentially the message of the shloka. Now let's move on. I'll tell you a story around this. So sage Vishwamitra and sage Vashisht, so once they met, right? It's like when you meet each other, you exchange gifts, right? So they also, like gentlemen, gentle sages, they exchanged gifts. And what was the gift that they exchanged? Sage Vishwamitra was a big Jnani. Okay, he had done tons of tapasya, austerities, and he was a Gyan Margi. So he had thousands and thousands years of his tapasya. Out of that, he picked up 10,000 years of his tapasya and gave it to sage Vashisht. Now you'll say, how do you quantify and objectify? I mean, they had ways of doing that. It's like, okay, it's like when we go on vacation, certain companies have a policy, right? You can transfer your vacation to someone. So think of it that way. They had the ability to do that. So he said, 10,000 years of my tapasya, I offer it as a gift to you. So sage Vishesh said, okay, you have gift. I need to give you a return gift as well. So what he did was, he said, all right, I give you 2 minutes of my bhakti. Okay. And then sage, Vishwamitra was like, okay, this is not a, equal exchange that we are doing, because I offered you so much of penance and austerity and of my tapasya, and what you're doing is 2 minutes of bhakti. Sage Vashish said, it is a fair exchange. He said, okay, let's go and get this dispute settled by Brahmaji, okay, who's of course the most intelligent person and having the perfect knowledge, right? So he went to Brahmaji to resolve this dispute. So Brahmaji said, okay, let's get Anantashesh involved, okay? He can resolve this dispute. By the way, Anantashesh is the first expansion of God, which is also Balaram, which is also Lakshman, okay, and during the avatar calls. And Anantashesh is the one who holds the entire creation on his head, balances it. Okay, that is who Anantashesh is. And it is said that Anantashesh has been reciting the glories of God ever since eternity, and still he's not been able to complete it. But anyways, nevertheless, so they said, bring in Anantashesh and we will see, he can resolve this, this dispute that you're having. So first he sends sage Vishwamitra. So when he sends sage Vishwamitra, he said, Brahmaji is calling you. We have a bit of a thing that we need to resolve. So Anantashesh said, okay, so but then I'm holding this entire creation. If I go, it will go out of balance. So sage Vishwamitra said, no, okay, I still have some penance and austerity. I'll offer it to you and that will take care of it. He offers about 5,000 hours or something like that, years of his penance. And Anantashesh starts to move. So what happens when he moves is, you'll see what happens. The earth starts wobbling. You see the wobble? It starts wobbling. So he said, no, I cannot move. So he goes back. So Vishwamitra comes back to Brahmaji. He said, you know what, earth is going out of balance. I can't bring him. He said, okay, let's send Sage Vashisht as well. So he sends Sage Vashisht, and then the same thing, Anantashesh said, I have a problem. If I do that, who's going to support this? He said, okay, I'll give you a few minutes of my bhakti. Okay, few seconds, I guess, in this case. He gave it. Earth was stable and Anantashesh was able to come. So when they went to Brahmaji, he said, you know what? Now we need to resolve the dispute here. Sage Vashisht, Vishwamitra said. Brahmaji said it's already resolved. Don't you think it's already resolved? You were not able to bring him and he was. So the point I'm trying to make it is, the power of bhakti is so much that thousands of years of penance which people do, austerities they do, right? The Gyan Marg that you do, it can be actually achieved within a few minutes of sincere bhakti if you do. That is the power of bhakti. So that is the key message around this thing. Right? In fact, there's a bhajan, right? Maharaj Ji has written where he says, Nahi jat samadhin jogin te. Albelo hamaro yaar. It's a very beautiful bhajan where he says, Nahi jat samadhin jogin te. Nachat ta thei 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 thei. So basically he's saying that the one, the supreme Brahman who takes on a form in Krishna, right? He doesn't care to enter the trance of big yogis who have been performing penance, austerities, and that's through their self-efforts for countless lifetimes. He does not care to enter their samadhi. They're trying to focus that when can we see them, when can we see, he does not care. But the same Brahman, he's dancing to the tunes of the gopis, okay, for that buttermilk. How is it possible? Bhakti. So that is the power of bhakti and love, where God gets enslaved. So this bhakti thing is very important. Now you say, okay, this is one of the paths. Bhagavad Gita talks about Gyan Marg, Karma Marg. They are also bona fide. Sure, they are bona fide. Ashtanga Marg, they are also bona fide. So let's spend some time to understand this in more detail today. Okay. By the way, I've taken a reference from Bhakti Shatak as well on this. It says, कर्म योग अरुज्ञान सब साधन यद्यपि बखान राधे राधे पाई बिनु भक्ति सबई जनु मृतक देह बिनु प्राण. So what it says is, all the scriptures describe the path of karma yoga, gyan, but if you take bhakti out of it, it is, these paths are like a dead body without a soul. Right? We know that when you take something out of a body, soul departs a body, it becomes a dead body. So mritak, basically, if the soul of every path is devotion only. Without devotion, you cannot really fructify any of the path. So that is the key thing here. And also, Krishna kripa binu jay nahi maya ati balwan sharnagat par ho kripa ye gita ko gyan. It also goes on to say that in the next another, as Bhakti Shatak, that the other part of it is, which we are going to spend some amount of time maybe in upcoming sessions, that Maya is so powerful, it cannot be eliminated without Shaktiman's grace. So grace is a very important component, which is conveniently discarded by all other paths. They don't even talk about grace. There's no discussion about grace at all. Okay. Now the grace is received only by selflessly surrendering to him. This is the sense of Gita's teaching as well. Okay. Sarv dharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam bras. What happens? The grace comes. So we'll talk about this topic. What is grace? How does it work? What is the principle that behind bestowing grace and stuff like that? That is a topic in itself. Well, let's for now continue on this discussion and look at the different parts here. So this is where we had left and we will continue. Now, these are the three paths: Brahman, which is formless, then we have Paramatma, and then we have a Bhagavan form, right? Now let's get started. Gyan Yoga, you are worshipping the formless. Ashtang Yoga, you are worshipping the Paramatma. Bhakti Yoga, you are worshipping the form aspect of God. Okay, so this is the three things. Let's move. Satchidanand, is this component present in Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan? I think if you have been attending regularly, you would know that Satchit Anand is present in all three, right? So that is present in all the three paths. Entry criteria, when it comes to entry criteria, it's not an easy entry criteria for Gyan Yoga. In fact, in Kali Yuga, maybe I don't know what would be the percentage of people who are actually eligible for this path. Okay, because you first have to be in advanced stage of renunciation for you to even enter Gyan Marg. You are not even qualified for Gyan Marg otherwise, right? So in our advanced stage of renunciation means that you are already situated in this understanding that you are not this body but a soul. You are already have a renunciate in your mind, large degree of renunciation with regards to the worldly things and stuff. Then the ABC of Gyan Marg starts. Okay, so this is not something that in embodied beings, like the shloka we picked up yesterday, 12.5, klesho adhiktaras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam, that if you are an embodied soul, basically this path is exceedingly difficult for you to understand. You are not at there yet, and entry point itself is difficult. So it's not an easy. Similarly, you need a lot of discipline and other things, not that in Bhakti Marg you don't need it, but even to enter, you need to be at a certain stage of where you can sit properly, you can taking care of your part, for you to progress in Ashtanga Yoga. In Bhakti Marg, it's the easiest path to begin with. Entry criteria is open for all. Okay, no barriers whatsoever. And in fact, in Kali Yuga, this is the only path. Okay, if we are in Satyuga, all the other paths are there as well. We will see what is the result or the final fruit of these paths. However, they are still possible because your bodies are strong, your intellectual capacity is strong, you can understand things, and you can practice severe penances, austerities, and stuff like that. In Kali Yuga, other than Harinam Sankirtan, there is no other possibility. Okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said that, and it has been reiterated in multiple saints, by multiple saints and in scriptures as well. In Kali Yuga, Harinam Sankirtan is the only way, where you simply take God's names, you chant, recite around it, tap into his grace, and that's the way forward. Okay. Now move on to next path, highest and closest realization of God. Formless, it is realization of God, but not the highest. You have not completely realized in this one. Okay. In fact, a Jnani considers self-realization equals to God realization. Actually, scripturally speaking, self-realization is not God realization. Okay, you have not realized God as yet. You have just realized a drop of an ocean. You have not realized the expanse and the depth of an ocean. Okay, so it's not the highest or the closest realization of God. Second, Paramatma, again, it is not. We'll talk about it why. And the third one is, in Bhagwan form, you get into the depths of actually realizing God in its entirety, which means getting the highest bliss of God, which is divine love. Okay. In both the other paths, you don't get divine love. That aspect is there as well. You are bereft of that. When you become formless, you merge with Brahman, you are deprived of the opportunity to serve God or have his personal association. It's like that difference between eating a rasgulla or becoming a rasgulla yourself. You don't get an opportunity to eat the rasgulla or to serve God. You simply merge with Brahman and formless aspect of it, and it's done. In case of Paramatma, you will have an association of God, and especially if you have worshipped God in his Paramatma, Saguna Sakar Swarup, it is limited to Vaikuntha Ras, where you can do it in a Shant Bhav only. You cannot go beyond Shant Bhav. Why? Because you only have respect for the four-armed form of God, even in case of the Paramatma aspect of realization, which is, if you look at it in Vaidhi Bhakti, people go to the Narayana avatar, right? Narayana avatar is the ultimate avatar for them, where Brajaras, there's no description of Brajaras and you don't get it. So, but in Bhakti, the possibility is endless. And in fact, it is said in Bhakti, there is no Purnima. In Gyan Marg, the Purnima is merging with God. Done. After that, there's nothing else to be achieved. Right? And when Bhakti, when you talk about, there is no Purnima. There is no limit to basically the kind of bliss God can keep on providing you. It is said in scriptures that, see, the devotee offers everything back to God. God multiplies it, gives it back to the devotee, so that, that aspect of bliss, freshness, it keeps on increasing. Neither devotee stops nor God stops and says, you know what, I have run out of fund now. I cannot offer you anything more or anything fresh. Okay, after yoga orderalization, that doesn't happen. So ever new, ever fresh, and ever increasing, that continues even after your godrealization. And godrealization means moksha is already taken care of, right? That part of Brahman where it is limited to moksha, that is already covered, but you go much beyond that because you have rejected moksha also. You want to serve God in his personal form. So that is the highest. The love for God, there is no aspect. If you ask a Jnani, who will say, what God? I am God. I can love myself, right? So it's like we say Twameva Mata Pita Cha Twameva. So Gyani should ideally say Swameva Mata Cha Pita Swameva, right? Because they think they are God. So that concept itself is like you don't consider God as a separate entity. You are God. If you go Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi, these statements, Brahma Vakya is essentially telling you you are the that, you are that, you are God only, right? So it does not consider God as somebody. We are a part of God or we are the servants of God. That concept is not there. So in that case, love for God aspect is not even explored. You talk about selfless service and love for God, they will look back at you quizzically as if you have lost, you've lost the sanity. What kind of things are you talking about? So that is how it goes. In Paramatma aspect, I need to clarify that with Swamiji, because it is, you could, in Paramatma, either you can do samadhi where you are focusing on your, formless aspect, or you could be doing a form aspect as well. Paramatma has form, but it does not have Leela. It has Roop. Narayana Avatar, the Kshirodakshai Vishnu has a Roop. So if you're worshipping them, of course, there's a part of that, even in respect, there's a bit of love. So I'm not very clear about that. It's a technicality. I'll clarify from Swamiji. But in the case of Bhakti Marg, love for God is the buzzword, right? It is all driven by emotions and developing love for God. So that is the key basis for this. Moving on, if you look at grace of God, there is no grace. They'll cut. What is grace? Okay, there's nothing like grace. And we are entitled, basically everybody has, there's no concept of grace basically in any of the paths. In Bhakti only you have that. Leela and Parikar, we have already spoken about it. There are no Leela and Parikar in these paths. In Bhakti Marg only, in Bhagwan form only, he has Leelas that he manifests, or you tap into it, right? If you ask Gyan Margi, what are you worshipping or what are you thinking about? It's all about light and thinking I am God. Okay, nothing about all the wonderful leelas that God has given during his avatar calls. They don't even tap into that, right? So that aspect is completely missing because there's no basis for that. You are God, and then they don't even consider God's avatar as God. They think Brahman, when it comes under Maya, then it becomes like avatar, and they don't need to worship. So those concepts are completely different. So see, fundamentally, it's changing the way you are approaching this thing. Although all are worshipping the same. And of course, it's a simple path, right? Bhakti is simple. You've seen people, you don't need to, at least from an entry standpoint, you don't need to do much. You go to any village in India, people, it's so easy for them to pick up Bhakti. Anybody can do that. It doesn't take much to keep on chanting, reciting. Yes, it needs knowledge to do it correctly. That Manasi Bhakti is the real thing, not just the rituals. But something is better than nothing. Entry point is not at all difficult for anybody. Progressively, of course, you need to invest. You have to become selfless. You have to let go of your pride and all that stuff. But entry path, it's pretty easy. Anybody can do bhakti, anybody, right? You need to be first, renunciate. You need to be an advanced stage of being beyond your body. And then you are eligible for nothing of that sort. Pretty straightforward. Yes, Rahul, you had a question?
There is a comment from Barkhaji on the entry point. So there is a shlok in Bhakti Shatak that Brahma Prapti Path Gyan hai, Paramatma Path Yog, Radhe Radhe, Krishna Prapti Path Bhakti hai, Adhikari Sab Log, Radhe Radhe. Sorry,
Very
couldn't
true.
recite it that way, but it is
Yes,
very apt.
thank you. Thank you for calling that out. Yeah, I didn't get that verse. Yes, Adhikari Sab Log is the buzzword. Everybody is entitled for bhakti. There is no entry barrier criteria at all. It's like gates are open. Anybody can start with that. That is so easy. See, but the human tendency is that they think what is difficult is the real thing. Right? Swamiji gives a very beautiful. If somebody tells you, what, pranayam, you simply do like this. It's very simple. It will have a profound impact on your physiology and calmness of your mind. So you'll be very skeptical. So simple, yeah, so simple. But if somebody tells you, what, you take like this, but other hand, take it behind your back and then twist it like this. And if then you touch it and then you take the breath, the effect will happen. You'll say, now it is something. So our mindset is something which is difficult, right? Same thing marketing people do, something which is expensive must be good. So they price it high, right? When they price it high, you get a satisfaction. Now I'm doing or getting something, even though you may be getting something much cheaper. So this is more of a psychology thing, but Bhakti Marg is simple. And yet, people think that it is for people who are dim intellected, who do not have understanding or deeper principles, nothing like that. I would tell you, Bhakti Marg, you'll find both extremes. You'll find very bhola bhala people who don't have much gyan, and at the same time, people who have reached sophistications of understanding these principles, both, and you will find. Right? But mediocres in between will keep on experimenting with other things until they come across a guru who will finally tell them, you know what, all this is fine. But finally, you have to become Sharnagat to God only. Okay. Your self-effort will take you only so far, nothing beyond that. So fundamentally, if we have that benefit of tapping into God's grace, why not? Why make it difficult for ourselves? Right. And enslaving God, of course, there's no concept of enslaving God in any other paths. Here, think of the possibility. Somebody who's the basis of your this entire creation, and somebody who's the basis of your very life, right? The Brahmand Nayak, the Jagatpati, the supreme creator, he will become your servant. Okay. That possibility is opened up only by Bhakti Marg, no other marg. Okay, there is no concept of enslaving God, because there is no concept of considering yourself as a servant of God. So and doing rendering service to God. It's all about self-effort and your own efforts alone, right? Or no nishkam seva and stuff like that of sagun sagar. So those concepts are not there. So that concept of enslaving God is something very, very remote or esoteric for any other paths. So this is a quick snapshot I put together. There are other things as well, but hopefully it helps you appreciate the differences between the path and the possibilities on each one of these. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
So from our perspective, effectively, the path to Brahman and Paramatma are the same, and Bhagwan is what is different and which provides us what we really need to go for.
Yeah, so the bottom line here is, see, it's like Krishna also told Arjun, right? Now that I've informed you everything, you decide using your prudence what is best for you. So if we go by the informed decision standpoint, I would go with something which is more blissful, which is easy, and which is anyway the only thing. Now, other aspect that we need to understand here is the devotion. Without devotion, even on other paths, you finally have to do devotion only. Because without devotion, you cannot really, even for Brahman and Paramatma aspect, for you to attain that, you finally have to do devotion. So it's just a matter of time, is what our scriptures are saying, before you can, in either of the paths that you go. And then let's talk about the path part of it. Any path, can it sustain itself on its own? There's another line I had put, maybe it's on another version. Can it sustain itself on its own? Gyan Yoga, purely Gyan, can it sustain itself? No, you need bhakti for that. The Ashtang Yoga, can it sustain itself on your own? Is it nirashrit on its own? No, it still needs bhakti. And Bhakti Marg is self-sufficient anyway. If you have bhakti, you don't need anything else. So for the other paths, bhakti is still an essential ingredient. Without that, you can reach a certain level. You might be dabbling with kriyas, you might be dabbling with kundalinis, you might be dabbling with certain realizations and siddhis, but you are still playing the material world. Unless you come across a guru and unless you do bhakti, you really cannot conquer Maya. It's a very simple. To conquer Maya, you have to go to the boss of Maya. And boss of Maya is God himself, because it's one of his many energies. Okay. Without going to the boss, if you conquer it, that's as good as conquering God, which is not possible through self-effort. So that is the gist of it. Now, with that said, I would say bhakti is available to everybody, accessible. Now, what is bhakti? That is a topic in itself. What bhakti doesn't mean you 2 times you do ton, you're this thing and that is bhakti. No, it's much deeper. You are building a relationship with God now. Okay, that is how it goes. There has to be a basis, right? So it is a deeper thing, right? Seva, sadhana, satsang that we do, those practices, essentially you work on cleaning yourself up. What is bhakti? Bhakti is you are preparing the vessel so you can receive his divine grace. So what does bhakti mean? End of the day, you have to work on yourself. You are building a connect with God, taking his help, but improving yourself, and bhakti is the way to do. So if you are not improving in some of the vices or some of the things that trouble you with regards to other things, that means that course correction is needed. When you actually start taking the pill of bhakti and devotion, all the things which are not needed for us, their intensity starts reducing. Okay, whether it's anger, letting go, fear, anxiety, ego, all those things will start diminishing over time, because now it has started tapping into God's grace. It will happen over a period of time. It's a journey. It's not a unit step function, but that is how it's meant to do. And on this path, the good part is you have an insurance policy with regards to God doing the course correction for us, because you are dependent on him, as opposed to going alone as a road warrior. Okay, where it's called a double-edged sword. You never know when you will fall down, right? And that is the power of bhakti. So if you have done devotion, true devotion, even in one lifetime, of course, those sanskars are entrenched forever, and they'll sprout in due course of time, right? So this is a path which is accessible to all, and this is something you can start building bottom up. But if you're too far in any other path, still bhakti is available to you. It's just a matter of time before you pick it up. So that's the essential gist of this whole thing that I spoke about. Let's take some questions around it then.
Monica ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Monica.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe everybody. So Nitin ji, for anybody to get onto Bhakti Yoga, some past Bhakti is required, right? As a
See, there's always
prerequisite.
a first time as well, right? But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
actually bhakti is durlabh, I'm telling you. Bhakti, more specifically, Krishna Bhakti is very durlabh. Your sanskars will not cooperate, your intellect will not cooperate, your feet will not cooperate, your eyes will not cooperate, and so many things will not cooperate. But if they are cooperating, yes, that means there's a very good possibility you have done something in the past. Something started clicking, because bhakti never goes nishfal, right? God will give you the result around it. So yes, past sanskars play a big role in that. And the amount of bhakti you do, devotion, that is preserved anyways, right? That's Krishna's rule, not just related to bhakti. Any spiritual progress that you have made in whichever path, God said, I'm going to preserve it for you. And if you have bhakti, those seeds, somewhere they have gotten planted, then that's the best thing that could have happened. Even in case of Gyanmarg and all, it is said that, then finally God, if you had done bhakti in any of the lifetime, in whatever form, then God will make you meet a guru, and then he'll guide you further. Okay, now you have come this far. Beyond that, you need to do this now. Sagun Sakar, you have to become Shanagat, get his grace and get beyond Maya. And that's eventually going to happen. But yes, past sanskars do play a big role in this. Because a lot of time we don't choose a path, the path chooses us. You've just seen, right? People, they get automatically attracted to a certain message. Why it is happening? By past sanskars. If you are getting attracted to bhakti, it's a huge privilege, I'm telling you, because not everybody does. Okay, especially, I mean, if I look at myself, the way I was growing up, my mom is here in the session as well. I was perfectly carved out for Gyanmarg, because I will intellectualize everything. This is not this logical, rational. But then when I came across, Swamiji, and this thing started opening up, then it said, wow, end of the day, all this is fine. But you have to do Radhe Govind, Govind Radhe only. So that thing clicked, and it doesn't click so easily to people. Other day I was talking to, it doesn't click. They will keep on intellectualizing this thing for the rest of their life. But a very simple thing of building trust in God, that will not click. If it is clicking, it's a privilege. It's not, for you, it might be easy or somebody, but it is not easy for somebody to get to that stage. Okay, so it's a huge deal if it is happening. Shyamji is nodding as well. The look that he has on his eyes looking at Banke Bihari, I still, I was looking at him. Amazing. So it's a very special thing to have bhakti. That much I can tell you. Yeah. It's like lottery, hitting a lottery if you have bhakti. Okay. Just take it to the next level. Keep on decorating your bhavs and keep on taking to the next level, because you have started tapping into God's grace now. Yes, Monica ji, you had another question?
No, I just wanted to add here, Nitin ji, because like you said, past sanskar of your Gyan Yoga also. I was on Gyan Yoga and now shifted towards Bhakti Yoga. I know the difference. I mean, I crave to tell people how simple and how fulfilling it is to
Blissful.
get into Bhakti Yoga. Blissful, yes.
Blissful also. You see, you start tapping into divine grace right from the word go. How beautiful it is, right? Why would I want to do something solo? It's my own pride which takes me that way, right? My own pride. I am somebody. I am God. But when you start tapping, I'm not nobody, and start tapping into divine grace, that's the magic will start unfolding. So it's our own pride at times and past sanskars, of course, which holds us back. But bhakti is not something simple. Sitting, going to kirtans and all that, when that starts, that's the next level, of course, happens, but it doesn't come so easily. So that's why I'm saying when I, after getting all, but I'm glad I met Swamiji, because you need an engineer to make an engineer understand, right? So God strategically places people. They know that if this person meets this person, then this thing will click. Otherwise, this will not click. And that is also his grace only. And then things started clicking, right? And so when Swamiji in one of his lectures, he was saying, you know what, finally you have to do Radhe. It was so pleasing to ears. So simple. He said, yeah, so simple. That's all. But to get to that stage, it takes a lot of intellectual convincing and going through so many concepts and all that stuff. Finally, you only have to do that. And if you can do that with proper understanding, nothing else is needed. True. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question too?
Yeah, I mean, I had a follow-up. So yoga is added in all of them, right? And yoga is union with God. So from that perspective, like, is there any difference? Like, if I have always felt that with
It's no difference. Yoga is added to all. Basically, it says that no matter what appeals to your intellect, okay, if you want to contemplate on knowledge time and again, you still have to add bhakti to it. That knowledge will not fructify, give its final result until you have added bhakti to it. Right? If you like to sit in ekant sadhana and focus on I'm that, or focusing on the, your different chakras where you're saying, okay, I'm going to tap into Paramatma, finally you'll need bhakti there as well. And if you are doing bhakti anyways, it may seem like, okay, these crazy people are dancing and chanting around, but bhakti, that devotional element, if that is missing and you are doing it, thinking of the world, still it will not work, right? So the yoga is the mind, finally you have to take to God. That is the common denominator in all. So regardless of which path you pick up, taking your mind to God is needed, in regardless of which path you have. And that is why yoga is added. Yoga essentially means that only. So thank you for asking that. Yeah. So we have 3 more minutes, and I think I have to end it on time. Too many things are going on. So, but we can take maybe 5 more minutes. Any more questions or anything? Yes, Samji.
yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Nitin, after India चले गए, I was planning to come tomorrow to Dallas after Temple Meet. So for a week I'll be there, and I think I'll be missing you. Maybe I don't know how many other Ajay ji missing होंगे वहाँ पे. I think who both of you, the main pillars are gone, kind of.
Yeah, so yeah, I know it's. I would have loved to meet you as well, Samji, but
Yeah,
timing.
besides that, my other question was,
Definitely, I'm sure our paths will cross in one of the retreats or sometime. But next time you come to Dallas, let me know, and we're going to be around. But yeah,
right, because the ISKCON people, they have the Sadhu Sangha program there in Dallas, Marriott Dallas near Allen, somewhere close to it.
Okay.
So actually, that's for 3 days, but we'll be there for a whole week anyway. Besides, another question is, I was in the Gyan Yoga all along for so many years, more in the Gyan Yoga, and I have been kind of not convincing, but at least advocating like Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi, all the 4 Mahavakyas of those ones. So in case I understand and I agree with you, all this Bhakti Yoga, no doubt. But my question is, if we are we negating those Mahavakyas, Brahmasmi, how they fit into the same equation?
No. I'm glad you asked that question. We are not negating those Brahmavakyas. Brahmavakyas are Brahmavakyas, right? So let's understand it in perspective. First of all, meeting you in Dallas, I want you to tackle that. I am away, right? It was purely coincidental and not at all intentional. Okay, so but I would love to meet you next time. So yes, let's understand that Brahmavakyas are Brahmavakyas, right? They're true. However, they have been selectively picked up. Our scriptures tell us that our relationship with God, there is a Bheda Bhed Sambandh. Bheda Bhed Sambandh means you are same and yet different. Okay, so they focus on the same part of it, and they cap it there only. So when you look at it in entirety, it goes much beyond that. Yes, you can realize God, that I'm going to merge with you. But then you are deprived of divine love. They don't even talk about that. Ask them about Bhagavatam, ask them about Krishna Lila. They will be very skeptical and end up doing spiritual transgressions around this concept. So they are true. But in the same way, Bhakya, it also says, Jive Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. So they are focusing only one aspect of this, where the similarity, we are divine. Yes, we are also divine, right? God is also divine. That is the similarity part of it. So that becomes the basis of their devotion, and that becomes the end result of the devotion as well. That is essentially what it is. Nobody's negating those vakyas. So we don't need to even get into a discussion or a debate with the Gyan Yogis, because that is the chosen path by them. Let it fructify and things will eventually evolve. So it's pointless to even get somebody said, hey, what you're doing. No, of course, what you're doing, keep digging that well and see where it takes you. I'm just painting a complete picture around it, because not everybody has a benefit of entire set of knowledge. We have it because of Maharajji, Swamiji, but then that perspective gets limited. And then when you look at it, there are tons of examples of Gyan Yogis in each kal who actually understood the significance of bhakti, right? And what is the power of bhakti and what is the power of Sagun Sakar. I can tell you too many examples from different eras who used to think, Brahman formless is the ultimate thing. But when they were exposed to a little bit of bhakti, their path completely changed. The Sanat Kumars, the 4 Kumars, they used to worship formless Brahman. And when the Tulsi leaf of Lord Vishnu's feet were, right, that fragrance or aroma fell into their nostril, they were completely blown away. The Aham Brahmasmi concept, then nothing can blow them away, right? Because they have done their Chitta Nivritti and everything is God. But why is their mind getting attracted to something? Even at that stage, that is the power of Sagun Sakar. Same thing happened with King Janak. He's Videh. His daughter Sita is called Vaidehi. Videh means even if his hand is on fire, right, won't matter to him. His palace was on fire, queens, he didn't care. That is the state he went. But when he saw Lord Ram, his mind starts getting attracted. It's like, I'm getting infatuated to this thing. Is it the formless Brahman or all-pervading God who has taken on a form? Why am I getting attracted? He couldn't understand that. Uddhav in Dwapar, he was formless, and when he came out to Gopi, he started fighting with Krishna. What kind of a person, heartless person are you? So there are enough examples. When they get exposure to Sagun Sakar aspect of it, then this becomes insipid. But that doesn't happen to everyone. It happens in due course of time only if God graces, or I don't know what is the algorithm for that. But nobody's negating that. It's just that that's a limited perspective. It's not a complete Gyan. It is a partial Gyan. Swamiji said, it's not a Gyan Yoga. It's a partial Gyan Yoga that people practice. Complete Gyan is knowing God in entirety. The fact that he is a form as well. And serving God is a partial Gyan. Sorry. Okay. I think I spoke enough. Maybe 2 more minutes. We can take questions and then wrap it up today, so that, tomorrow I'm not in, my hotspot continues to cooperate. I have a backup in case, again, I have internet issues. So that's a bit of a challenge. Yes, Manishi and Shyamji, real too quick, and we'll have to skip devotional segment today. Sorry about that. 2 more questions.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Manishi.
Radhe Radhe. So I think you answered my question already, Nitinji, but I have a question on that slide there, that in the Paramatma you had 2, was that supposed to be X? There's 2 dots.
Yeah, that's something I put X because I don't want to pass on an information without validating it completely. And there is a bit of technicality because in Paramatma aspect, the Naam and Roop is there. Parikar is not there. Okay. So these aspects, when I say grace and love, does it come into picture or not? Okay. That's something I need to clarify. I was not sure about it. I don't want to put out something unless I'm 200% sure about it. Either I've heard it or have validated it. So that's why I put stars there.
Okay, got it. And then the other example is Shukdev Maharaj, right? He was
Shukdev
also
Maharaj,
in that.
And
then he heard a couple of verses that Vyasji sent with he had disciples, and then he's like, Krishna is not going to love me. He's so great. He's not going to.
Yes.
But then he sent with the Putna, that Putna tried to poison him, and he still gave it a golok. And then that turned him to bhakti, and he started,
So basically, there are enough examples of even Paramhans, the topmost Gyanis, when they got just a little drop of bhakti, how it changed their, perspective, not even perspective, the course of their devotion completely, right?
Yeah.
Sudan Saraswati is another one who was Shankaracharya's son. So there are enough examples around it. So we're not trying to sell bhakti here. We're just trying to portray that bhakti is an essential ingredient, no matter what you're doing. Okay, there's nothing you can achieve without bhakti, especially when it comes to crossing over Maya. Okay, great. Last one, Annapurna ji, real quick.
Yes, Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Annapurna ji.
I just wanted to give the example of Uddhav, he's almost like Brihaspati,
Uddhav,
but
we spoke about
even, he was Advaita. Yeah, so that's all, was reminded of Uddhav. There are so many people.
Very true. Shukdev Paramhans, if you hear his story, I mean, he was in meditative state. I'll tell you about that story maybe in some other session. But he's a Paramhans, okay, and nobody could disturb him out of his samadhi until somebody spoke a verse about Lord Krishna and his eyes opened up. That is the power of God's name, or the impact it can have. So bhakti and his Sagun Sakar, the power of that is the highest, and that is only path which enables you the complete realization of God. Okay. Otherwise, even Swamiji was saying it is called partial Gyan Yoga. If you don't understand that finally you have to serve God, that's not a complete realization. Merging with your God is not a big, I shouldn't say big deal, but it's still limiting. In that sense, you have not realized it in complete entirety. In the sense that you have not gotten the opportunity to serve him, and you were not even exposed to that concept that God has a form and you can serve him. So without that knowledge, if you merge, of course, it was not the complete realization, in the sense that that knowledge was still bereft of the entirety of what was there to be known, kind of a deal. Okay, so with that, let's wrap up our session. Thank you, everybody, and sorry for the interruptions and hiccups we had, completely out of control. And I hope my hotspot continues to out tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll try to find a wire and not Wi-Fi or something I'll do. But I'm glad we could able to complete our discussion today. By the way, tomorrow we'll start with chapter 4, verse 1. Okay, back on track. We'll continue on chapter 4 journey and the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. We took a lot of detours, but hope it was well worth it, okay, during the sessions that we have discussed. So, great. So thank you, everybody.
Sairamji had mentioned in the beginning of the session, Nitinji, we know for sure it will be worth the wait. So,
okay.
I don't know, so.
Okay. What the wait for? Starting back? Okay. No, I think we covered a lot of stuff and we've gone back and forth. I don't know how many shlokas we have covered. We have gone to 18th chapter, 10th chapter, 9th chapter. So many things we have covered along the way. So, right. So, yeah. Great. So thank you again, everyone. Radhe Radhe. Have a good day and a good rest of your evening. And I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Radhe Radhe.